Hey everybody, I'm Eureka John, and welcome to another edition of the Eureka Street Creative Podcast. This is episode number 506. It is November 14th, 2023 at 1:55 in the afternoon, not in the morning this time. But I have a special episode of today, and today I have some guests. And I'm interviewing them about a project, a company called Lantern Finance, and they are a custodial staking company. And I'll get into some of the specifics and about what all that means with them. Crypto has a lot of ins and outs and a lot of gray areas, and we're gonna get into it and get into it deep here on this show. And I will switch over to Prince and Jung, the founders of Lantern Finance, right now. All right. Thanks again for jumping on and agreeing to record and talk about your project, company, and everything that you have going on. I have Prince Jindal and Jung from Lantern Finance here today. And we want to go over some of the basics because crypto has a lot of dimensions to it. And it's kind of a gradient between just being a straight up bank, and then to the most unfriendly interface. You have to know code and smart contracts and Solidity to actually get access to it. And there's a lot of stuff in between there. So I want to introduce Jung and Prince from Lantern Finance, and we'll get into it. So right now, let's just start with some intros, give a brief background and some inspiration as to why you wanted to form this project.
I could.
John, you want to start?
Okay. Yeah, I'll just start off and I'll hand it to Prince. Just backgrounds first. So again, I'm Jung. I just as a little bit of background, I come from a traditional finance background. So I started off my career at Capital One doing leveraged finance, and then Silicon Valley Bank. Stayed there for a few months and then went on to do consulting at a boutique 3D consultancy called Rock Paper Reality. Did that for about a year, and that takes us to the end of last year, right? And as you and probably your viewers can recall, there were like a string of bankruptcies in the crypto space, right? So that was the impetus for kind of how I connected with Prince, and that led to Lantern. But I'll let Prince give his background and kind of get into that.
Yeah, not too dissimilar from Jung. Like my background was also traditional finance. I worked at a lot of different alternative investment funds in New York for really like the last decade. So I worked in private equity, credit, real estate, mostly in a lending capacity. But yeah, as I saw in 2021, there was like this emergence of crypto lenders out there, people who you could go to borrow against your crypto. And that was very enticing for me, having like more of a credit finance background. So, I trusted these companies with some of my crypto, some of my dollars to earn a little bit of yield. But I didn't know that, a lot of the loans that they were making were unsecured or highly risky. You'd think that these loans were over collateralized, meaning like, John, if I give you a loan of $100, that means that I'll hold at least $150 or more worth of your crypto, as collateral. But really, these guys were lending, some people hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, but really not taking much collateral for themselves, to protect against any downsides or price depreciation. So what ended up happening was a lot of people called back their loans. These guys didn't have the money to service those loans. They ended up declaring bankruptcy. And that's when Jung and I connected, and we were thinking like, these companies clearly have product market fit. They have millions of users that really like their product, where you can earn like almost like a savings account, interest in a crypto that you're really bullish on, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum. And at the same time, you can access other products. Like if you want to get a loan against your crypto, you can do that with a few clicks of a button. But because like the way that their risk management works and that they're making all these risky loans, it really wasn't ever sustainable. And so that's when Jung and I connected, and we decided, well, what if we just help people stake their crypto. It made staking a lot easier because staking is kind of the
risk-free.
The risk-free rate, like some people will say, in crypto. And so, and then like build ancillary services around it. So just because we don't, like at Lantern, we don't do any lending, of people's deposits to outside parties. We just help people stake their crypto. And then if, our goal is in the long term, if they want to use ancillary services, whether it's buy or sell or take out a loan against their crypto, that's over collateralized, they would be able to do that. And so Jung and I, we've been working on this for most of this year, and really the inspiration was, the bankruptcies and how can we improve upon these companies that all had these severe fallouts.
It's like imploded,
Yeah.
Okay, so staking is something kind of inherent in a proof of stake network in crypto, and the interface, if you're not technically savvy, can be pretty brutal. So you guys are basically just acting as an intermediary to help people with that UX.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than the UX, right? Because so there's, like, the way Prince and I view the landscape, there's 3 major buckets of kind of options for people if they want to stake, right? The first is solo staking. That means kind of having a minimum of 32 ETH, which is, I don't know the price. It's like 64K today, let's say. Not everyone has that in ETH, right? But beyond the financial kind of requirements, you need to know Linux. If you're very technically savvy to run, like set up, run, and maintain your node. It's very complex, right? Even the most technical people have trouble doing all this without, requesting a lot of help on Reddit forums, Discord, and whatnot. So that's kind of, so solo staking as a bucket is out of the option for the vast majority of people. The second bucket is kind of the decentralized protocols like Lido, Rocket Pool. There's new ones like Diva, Swell now, I believe Swell nowadays. But for those, like, that option is an option for a lot of people. But the target market for Lantern is what Prince and I like to call crypto casuals. These are individuals who, they're like, they have jobs outside of crypto, right? They're like, they're not comfortable with self-custody, right? Which means like having your own MetaMask, having your own ledger, maintaining your own seed phrase. People, and also these folks might be either uncomfortable or not technically kind of in the know of navigating like decentralized protocols, right? What, smart contract risk, you type in one wrong, wallet address and you lose your funds forever. It's kind of scary, right? Like, it scares me too, and I've been in this space for a while. So DeFi is kind of out of the option for, again, our target market. So the remaining bucket today are centralized exchanges. So Coinbase, Binance.us, they offer staking products. But for those platforms, they're exchanges by nature, right? They're first and foremost exchanges. That's their main bread and butter, buying and selling. Staking is an ancillary add-on product that they have. And that being the case, if you go on Coinbase, for instance, to stake your ETH, it takes, I think, like 4 or 5 clicks to get there. And even there, it's hard to see like what fees you're exactly paying, how much of your ETH or other crypto is actually staked versus not staked. The UX, the user experience, isn't really optimized for staking, right? But beyond that, there's lack of customer support, just given how big these companies have gotten, in relatively few years. Their tax reporting isn't really, again, optimized for staking incomes. So that's kind of where Lantern comes in, right?
Okay.
Our dashboard is kind of optimized for staking. It's very clear. You deposit, click stake, you're done, right? We'll have customer support. We'll have just tax reporting for staking, because that's all we're doing. And fees-wise, right? Like Coinbase charges 25%, a quarter of all your staking rewards. Binance charges 20%. We're starting with 15%, and we'll be working to lower that as we grow. But in a nutshell, that's kind of how, like, what we're starting with.
Okay. So you guys just basically gave a good overall rundown for people who might know what all this stuff is. And a lot of people might be listening to that and be like, that sounds like a completely different language. And that's kind of how I started out as well in crypto. I would just like force myself to listen to a lot of these podcasts and until I started understanding some of this stuff. People don't know what custodial is, non-custodial. People don't know what KYC and AML are. People don't, there's all these little things. Who's Binance, and all this. So let's start from the beginning, and let's just say, what is staking? What's the difference between, what is proof of stake? And I know, what is Bitcoin? Is that proof of stake? Or wait, proof of work? Where does that come in? So
yeah. So great question, John. So both of these, proof of work and proof of stake, are what the industry calls like consensus algorithms. Basically, like, how does the blockchain figure out what the next block in the blockchain is? You can either use a proof of work system or you can use a proof of stake system. With a proof of work system, you buy hardware, machines that are running these computations, and if you're lucky, you get to propose the next block in the blockchain. That's proof of work. If you're running a proof of stake system, you don't have to buy any expensive hardware or machines that run any calculations. What you do is you put up your crypto on the network as a stake, and then you run software on your computer that will like mimic almost virtually what the proof of work system does. So with proof of stake, I put up my 32 ETH, I'm running the software, I get selected periodically to produce the next block in the blockchain. So for Ethereum and a lot of newer proof of stake systems, it's they're all proof of stake based. A lot of the legacy blockchains are proof of work. The industry has kind of moved towards proof of stake because it's more environmentally friendly. Because it consumes less energy, and it's a lot more secure, meaning like it's harder to attack the blockchain or the network, and which is why when you put up your own crypto as a stake, you're helping secure the network from attackers.
Okay, so go ahead. Do you have something you want to say, Jung?
Yeah, I guess just kind of to kind of give like an analogy, right? One thing that Prince and I kind of or our team thought of was you could think of proof of stake as kind of a like running an Ethereum branded toll booth, right? So basically, you're running a toll booth branded, again, Ethereum branded toll booth, where as cars or transactions go through, they pay gas or like toll fees, right? So those fees are kind of analogous to like gas fees that or tips that stakers can get. But on top of also these like gas fees or toll booth fees, you get paid from the Ethereum network itself in the form of like newly issued blocks for running an Ethereum branded toll booth, right? So basically you're securing the network and you're validating transactions on the blockchain and I guess you're getting compensated in the form of Ether, the native currency that you're staking.
Okay, all right. So no, that's a great analogy, the toll booth analogy. And then so when people stake their crypto onto one of those toll booths in their nodes, they're helping to secure that network, and so they get a portion of the gas fees that everybody pays, right? And so that's
gas fees and like new blocks issued. Right.
Yeah, and new blocks issued. Right. Okay. I mean, that's crystal clear right there, I think, in my head anyway. So but so you mentioned earlier it takes 32 ETH if you're gonna run everything yourself in order to be able to stake, right? And it's the high technical requirements and everything like that. So I guess that was my question. Why can't somebody stake themselves? I mean, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that's really it. Those are the two biggest barriers. You need 32 ETH, and you need to be able to, you need to know Linux and how to run your own, node and maintain it. You have to like kind of be your own IT guy. And, if you do something wrong, the risk is that, your stake could be also taken away from you in what the industry calls a flashing event. So,
okay.
If you're comfortable with all those risks, then yeah,
that's a pretty high risk in 32 ETH. I mean, if ETH, just say for hypothetically, ETH is $2,000. It's really close to that right now. So that's 32. Right. That's $6,400.
$64K.
Yeah. So I mean, that's $6,400. If somebody does not run that node right, does everybody else who's staked in that node lose their ETH too?
So when it comes to solar staking, you would have the 32 ETH yourself.
Okay.
And so there's no other participants who can stay with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's one of the things that you guys are offering for people to not have to have $6,400 at this point dollars
Yes.
worth of spare ETH just laying around, which a lot of people don't have.
That's right. 64,000. Yeah.
Oh, 64,000. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Let's just up the ante a little bit. Okay. So you're saying everybody can pool it together in order to make that 32 ETH. And then as a group, kind of a collective, everybody can split those returns and, kind of like a co-op almost.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
So with Lantern, we don't have any minimums with like you have to deposit 32 ETH to stake. You can deposit
like 1 ETH, 0.1 ETH. Yeah.
Exactly. And then once we collectively have 32 ETH, that's when we can stake it on behalf of our users.
Okay, cool. I've seen things, and on your website, you've compared it a little bit or contrasted it to BitGo and something like that. I want to talk about what BitGo is and what a crypto custodian is versus what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So I'm a Prince, kind of go into like what that is, and I could talk about how like it's relevant to us.
Yeah, sure. So BitGo is our custody provider, right? So when people
they're our vendor.
They're a vendor that we use. So when people send crypto to Lantern, really we're custodying it with BitGo. We do not custody users' funds ourselves. Like that is not our forte or specialty. BitGo is an industry leader in security and making sure people's assets are safe. They provide a lot of different services, but their core offering is really just security and custody. So what we want to do is partner with them and then just help stake users' assets by leveraging BitGo's custody.
Okay. Yeah. So you're like, okay, we are not security experts, so we want to defer that to the people who are really good at what they do. And so,
exactly. Yeah. And BitGo is considered kind of the gold standard in custody, at least in the US. And so
Okay, cool. All right. So then my next question then is BitGo is kind of starting to sound like a bank in a way. If they have custody of it, so how is that different from a bank?
Yeah, so BitGo, for people who are not comfortable, maybe we should take a step back and maybe understand like what is self-custody versus a custodial solution.
Okay.
So when you have crypto like in your MetaMask wallet or Ledger, that's considered self-custody, right? So you have to, be careful that no one takes your seed phrase or like steals your funds or like you don't click on any suspicious links. Like you are your own custodian, which is why we call it self-custody, right? And so a lot of projects are, they use the term non-custodial, meaning like, basically like
they don't have control over your funds. Yeah.
Right. They don't, like if you use a DeFi project or interact with a smart contract, like you have your funds self-custodied and they do not custody your funds. You might deposit your funds in a smart contract and, you can redeem them at any time. Here, we outsource the custody to BitGo. So BitGo handles all of the seed phrases and, make sure that funds are safe. And that's what we're offering at Lantern. Like we don't want people to have to install MetaMask or have to use like a third party system to deposit their funds into and then work with us. We're like a one size fits all solution where like you can create an account with an email and password, deposit your funds just like you would using any exchange, and then we will custody the funds with BitGo, and then you can do with the funds on our platform as you like. So if that's maybe taking out a loan against your funds or if you want to stake your funds. Those are the kind of things that we're looking to offer.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't think that just anybody can sign up with BitGo. I mean, as far as I know, I think you.
Yeah, typically it's for institutions,
Yeah.
and kind of that's where Lantern comes in, right? We're kind of the we're the ones interfacing with our clients or the end customers. So
Yeah.
Lantern, the entity, has an account with BitGo, and then through our Lantern account, clients would deposit their funds, and we're the ones. The Lantern is the one who kind of maintains accounting on who owns what,
Yeah.
who is owed what, with their staking returns. That's what we do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to get a lot better picture of it now. That's really cool. Like you guys are able to provide an average person like me with some kind of institutional type of custodianship
Sure.
of the crypto. So
Right.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you're providing a good interface for it, a good UX for it, because I know that self-custody and using MetaMask and seed phrases and all that, it's great. We all love
Right.
self-sovereignty. It's why a lot of people get into crypto. But do you think a lot of that has hampered mass adoption?
Yeah, John. So that's what I was going to mention. So when it comes to crypto, right, like and the whole promise of decentralization, that's in an ideal world, everyone is their own like bank, right? They have their own, they're like the self custody, right? They don't really have to rely on any other entities. But when we think about it in terms of like practicality and the reality of things, it's tough and it's scary, right? A lot of people, again, their full-time jobs aren't in crypto, and even if they are in full-time in crypto, like Prince and myself, self-custody scares us, right? We don't know, if we misplace our seed phrase or if someone, I don't know, just somehow finds it, then we lose all our funds. There's no negotiating or nothing like that, right? And so it's kind of like if you like, it's like it's a necessary evil of sorts, right? Like for instance, Coinbase is a fully centralized exchange, and yet it's thanks to Coinbase, frankly, even though they're our competitor for the staking product, at least, it's thanks to Coinbase that we're able to have, I'd say, maybe like 80-90% of all crypto users today, because that's the first entry point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who doesn't like a lawyer or a plumber or a teacher wouldn't be able to say, hey, let me get into crypto and suddenly go on Uniswap, right? Like usually the first point of contact is essential onboarding,
Yeah.
right? That's what we're trying to be here. Exchanges helps you kind of buy and sell crypto, but we want to help clients to do a little bit more with it, right? Kind of stake it and earn more, secure the blockchain, and then with that they could take out loans where their their collateral, which is still staked and generating returns, can offset their interest payments like a self-paying loan. A lot of cool things that they can access with us. So that's what we're trying to build.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you mentioned that things like Coinbase and crypto.com, Binance, Gemini, all those are exchanges first. And then you can stake on those platforms, but you guys are taking the inverse approach. Like you are a staking platform.
Yes. Yeah, staking first platform. Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay. So then that brings me to like the next one. And I've used things like Celsius and BlockFi and and Voyager to stake before, and you saw what happened with some of those, and along with those crashes and everything before that you had mentioned, banks going into failure. How is this different than those services? And I know that they tended to do like fractional reserve practices, so maybe we can explain a little bit of that too.
Yeah, and again, John, like the reason why Lantern kind of emerged is because of the failures of those lenders that you mentioned, like BlockFi, Celsius, and Voyager, right? Those platforms, they didn't do staking actually. So what they did was, as kind of Prince mentioned, what they would take clients. So they had two main businesses, right? One is the interest accounts, and the other is the loan accounts, at least for retail facing, right? So individuals like you and me, John, like we could deposit our ETH, Bitcoin, whatever into their interest accounts to earn interest in kind. I put in 10 ETH, I get 6% in the ETH back or whatever, right? The way they were generating those returns was by lending the collateral, lending our deposits the crypto themselves to other retail investors on their loan side, or to institutions like crypto native hedge funds, market makers, other exchanges, on an under collateralized or even unsecured basis. Like Voyager, for instance, they lent, I believe, $750 million. So $750 million to Three Arrows Capital on an unsecured basis, zero collateral, right? So it's just, that's crazy risk like, that's not risk management, right? That's just cowboy risk. And that's why when the crypto market crashed and these like huge counterparties fell, a lot of these platforms lost all their clients' funds, and that's why they went into bankruptcy. And so the difference between those platforms and Lantern is that the foundation is different. So for those crypto lenders, their whole business model depended on lending out deposited crypto to other parties on unsecured or under collateralized basis to generate high, and they charge high interest rates because it's riskier, and they will take a cut of that and send the rest back to pay the interest account depositors to incentivize additional deposits, right? But for us, our whole foundation is staking. So we have no counterparty like they did, right? Their counterparties are hedge funds and whatnot. Our counterparty is the blockchain itself, because we're taking client funds and staking it, which means we're locking up client funds on the blockchain, right? So that's where we're generating returns for clients, and that's the base. Staking is the basis for all we're doing and all we're going to do in the future at Lantern.
Sure.
And so from that standpoint, as Prince mentioned earlier, these products have product market fit, millions of clients, billions in AUM, but the foundation, the core was rotten. But for us, we kind of fixed that core. Is how I
think
view it, at least.
The technical term for that is rehypothecation. Is that correct?
Yes, rehypothecation is basically what they do is those lenders, let's say on the retail side, like I take out, and I was actually a victim of BlockFi, right? I took out a loan from BlockFi, put up, let's say I took out $100 loan from BlockFi, right? Then I had to give around, let's say $500 worth of Bitcoin or ETH as collateral. Instead of putting that in cold storage or staking it or doing something safe with it, they would take my collateral and lend that out further, right? And so on and so forth. That's why when like Three Arrows, the hedge fund, the largest hedge fund in crypto fell, all the other crypto lenders fell together, because that credit it's all interlinked, because they lend out collateral to each other, and that mirrors the Great Recession, right? When banks were rehypothecated, basically like mortgages. That's the same concept.
Wow. Yeah. So there you have it. A little bit of history lesson on even the 2008 crash on what happened there. And then just in the past couple of years, this was just a crypto version of the 2008 crash. Just lending out assets that aren't there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have a couple other services that are doing something similar, like Lido and Rocket Pool. I just want to know how you guys are differentiating from those.
Yeah, great question. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about when it comes to custodial versus non-custodial. So Lantern is a custodial offering, so you don't have to, worry about memorizing your seed phrase or securing that. You just, you create an account, you KYC with Lantern, you deposit funds, and we worry about securing your funds. But with Rocket Pool and Lido, you are your own bank, right? You have to have your funds in your MetaMask or your Ledger wallet. You interact with them through their front end, but really it's a smart contract, so you take on smart contract risk. You don't know who else is deposited into Rocket Pool or Lido, so there's a bit of they call it like pooling risk as well.
Sure.
And so we because we're custodial, like we're completely regulatory compliant in the U.S. Those companies are also like I guess global, but you don't really know where their headquarters is. If there's an incident, there's no real phone support or some person you can call and say, hey, how do I get my funds back? As opposed to us, we'll have customer support and reporting, so you know how much you're making. That's another differentiator. Like these these great guys, they don't have reporting either. Those are, this is like it's really a stark difference if you think about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trade-offs here between you going a custodial route like Lantern and a non-custodial route like Lido or Rocket Pool.
And just one thing to add is another kind of like on a practical matter, right? The difference is because Rocket Pool and Lido are decentralized protocols, right? They rely on these things called like receipt tokens, right? So when you stake with Lido, you send your ETH to join their like pools of validators, right? You need proof that you deposited X amount of ETH in there, right? And how do they do that? They issue you, like for Lido, it's called ST ETH or like staked ETH or Steph. For Rocket Pool, it's R ETH. That's like their version of a receipt token, right? In the US, that is, I think it's still a little bit of a gray area, but more likely than not, that's a taxable event. And so, if you're interfacing with these kind of protocols, which again, like I have high praise for them because technologically they're doing like really great things, right, for the decentralization of the Ethereum network and all that. But practically speaking, at least for U.S. citizens, it's likely a taxable event, and for us, we don't need to issue receipt tokens because we basically have custody of clients' funds when they deposit. We could track all, like who owns what, who is owed what, and all of that. So that's another thing, like tax benefits, I'd say.
The reason why it's a tax event, just to go a little bit deeper in that, is because like you're swapping your ETH for another token, whether it's ST ETH or R ETH, and that is considered an exchange, of one token's value for another. And so, whether it's, you buy, a random meme coin or something else, like the government views it as you're exchanging one thing for another, even if they're very similar and they trade very similarly. They're two distinct assets. And so you're selling one for the other is how the IRS looks at it.
Yeah. So really all this depends, I guess, on your tolerance for self-custody and things like you're talking about being local or worldwide, and your tolerance for risk regarding maybe the SEC like seizing up some kind of token and
and look, we've seen and we've seen that the government, the US government has the power to kind of shut down even decentralized protocols through like sanctions and kind of different choke points, right? We've seen Tornado Cash, which is like a mixer, right? So it's used by a lot of, I guess there are several like legitimate uses as well, but a lot of illicit kind of like hacker groups and whatnot would take stolen funds and put it through Tornado Cash, which mixes it obscures where the source of funds are from, and so a lot of governments led by the U.S. I think kind of like was able to basically shut it down, right? And so who's to say other decentralized protocols down the line might not suffer the same fate, because there's the issue is with KYC and AML, right? Like money laundering issues and like some like people's on like sanctions lists might be using these platforms, right? But for Lantern and other custodial like centralized platforms, like know your customer processes and anti-money laundering checks are a must, right? And we do that. So there's so
KYC stands for Know Your Customer. AML stands for anti-money laundering. And you guys are able to help take care of that for people so they are in compliance, where Rocket Pool and Lido do not. And like Tornado Cash, yes, it's a mixer, which meaning you can anonymously swap. And I'm all about personal sovereignty, and I love what Tornado Cash did and everything is doing, but I don't want to put my money in there and die on that hill.
Right. That's not the hill you want to die on.
Yeah. So when it comes to my money, I don't really want to lose it. So, but I do support what they're doing and the efforts they're making towards personal self-sovereignty of your own assets. So it depends on, like you said, your tolerance, and all this is on that gradient between like ultimate self,
banking,
anonymous, self-banking versus just like complete, custodial just going with a bank that does fractional reserve, so there's always a lot in the middle there. So I guess what you're saying too with those tokens, and I know Rocket Pool has its own RPL token. I don't know if Lido does.
They do.
Is there a use for a token for Lantern, or is that?
Well, that's another differentiator, I guess. But we do not have a token. No plans to launch a token. I think it's very difficult if you're a U.S. based company to launch a token compliantly. So that is not on our plan, our horizon at the moment.
Even if we did, even if we were able to, there'd be no use case, frankly, right?
Yeah.
A lot of even if you go back to the crypto lenders that failed, right? Like Celsius. So BlockFi didn't have a token. Props to them for restraining themselves. But Celsius had their Cell token. I'm not sure if Voyager had one.
Yeah. Voyager had a token, and it's really just basically like a customer rewards type of token, I guess.
Right. So it's
crypto.com has one.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you want to run a customer rewards program. Yeah.
Even then, right? Like, do you need a token to do that? I'm not sure. At that point, I think it was more of having a token for having a token's sake, and just additional revenue source of sorts for those companies. But for us, we're just focused on providing access to staking and all the other ancillary products we could build on top of it. No other frills or whistles and bells.
Yeah, you're just focusing on what you want to do, not like all the other stuff. And then it's a good way to keep the Lambo boys and the Moon boys away too.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have another question as well. What's the significance of the name Lantern?
Yeah, so the name Lantern, it came from basically, it might sound a little bit cheesy if I put it in words, but basically, this idea was born out of the ashes of, again, BlockFi, Celsius, Voyager, right? When all these platforms just imploded, everything is dead. But we kind of wanted to be like a lantern, right? Like a light that kind of leads people in a way that does things properly. So that's kind of where their name came from, Lantern. I think it also evokes a feeling of somewhat of like just brightness, warmth, and kind of a sense of security, right? Which is what we want to provide to our clients that the other platforms fail to do. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I hear the term in the crypto world a lot. It's called the dark forest, and I know that really refers to miner extracted value and front runners, but it has a lot to do with just being in this space there where there's a lot of people out to get you and get your money and all that stuff and scam you. So it kind of fits to me in the world of crypto as a dark forest. You guys are providing the Lantern. So.
Yeah, that's the ethos we're going for. So
Yeah.
Is there go ahead?
Good feedback. No, I was just saying that's a great analogy, and I appreciate your take on the name.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really all I had today. Is there anything else you want to add? Maybe about where you think that crypto is going, and then we can say where to find you guys.
Are you asking where crypto is going?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild card thing. Where do you think crypto is going? Do you think the UX will just remain extremely complicated, or are you guys trying to spearhead a way for everybody, mass adoption, to come on in?
Yeah, well, that's definitely what we're hoping for and striving for. Like, we want to be an easier way for people to access crypto services, and right now we feel like the landscape is too convoluted. There aren't too many people in building products that help onboard the masses. So Jung and I have taken up that mantle, and we hope more entrants, frankly, do come in and build build applications and tools for more people to get comfortable with crypto. That's really the goal. We can't just have it all be a handful of exchanges. So I hope DeFi also becomes more user friendly. And maybe there's new ways where self-custody becomes easier too. I think that's going to take a long time though. It could be 5, 10, 15 years away, if not longer. So yeah.
Yeah. And John, sorry, go ahead, Prince. Yeah.
No, that was it.
Okay, I was gonna say, we're a custodial and centralized platform for practicality, right? We're not anti, self-custody. We're not anti decentralization. We're in crypto, right? By nature, we're pro all these things, but it's just not practical for the vast majority of people to, be their own bank, right? But again, as if we get to a future where self-custody becomes very easy, very easy to manage and secure for a lot of the everyday folks, whatever that tech looks like, we'll be integrating that, right? We'll support that, right? The reason why we're again custodial is because it's just the easiest thing to do, right? And I think that's what all products should kind of focus on. The decentralized protocols out there, they're really pushing the frontiers of the tech, right? So really good on them. So I do look forward to a future where they just make things a lot more secure and easier for, again, just the average Joe. And we'll be supporting that and integrating whatever, they come up with.
Nice. Yeah. So, the frontiers are always out there, and there are a lot of amazing boundary pushers out there, but got to find a safe spot for people to land.
Exactly.
That's rad. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Where can people find you guys?
Yeah. So we have a Twitter handle, lantern.fi. So you can follow us on Twitter. There's also our website. You can sign up for our wait list. It's lantern.finance. When we launch, I just want to let your audience know, John, we're only launching in 15 states.
Okay.
That being said, anyone can sign up for the wait list, but if you are on one of those 15 states, we'll be going live very soon, probably in the next couple of weeks, and you could be one of the earliest stakers to use Lantern.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the list of the states are on our website FAQ page. I know it's a long list. I don't want to list them out here, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for jumping on and making this episode number 506. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, no,
honor
to be on. Thanks.
That was a great recording. Thanks again to Prince and Jung for jumping on from Lantern Finance to explain Lantern Finance to me and to all of you out there. I'm really happy that there was another great recording, an interview of something super basic in a way. There's the huge spectrum in crypto from straight up banks, like Celsius, that's pretty much scammy and using your funds in the wrong way. The reason why we're into crypto, to get away from stuff like that, versus something so decentralized and so technical that your average person has no way to just approach it and enter it. So this seems like a great place for people to land in the crypto space. Give them a follow. Also, hit that like button and subscribe to the YouTube and whatever podcast channel you're listening to on. I know, smash that like button, all that stuff. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers, but I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think it'd be good to get that 1,991 or something. You can follow me on Twitter at EurekaJohn, the number 1. On Discord at Eureka John, on Telegram at Eureka John. You can even give me a good old email at eurekastreetcreative@gmail.com and or EurekaJohn at eurekastreet.xyz. So if you have any feedback, if you want to be on the show and talk about what you're doing in the crypto space, I'm totally down for it. All right, talk to you later.